Hello dear friends, welcome to our channel, Your Table For. Here you can find independent news, comments about current world affairs and geopolitical situation around the world.
The current Russian military mobilization in and around Ukraine is the biggest military mobilization in Europe after World War II. The Russian intervention has surprised many people in Europe and around the world. To understand what's happening now, you have to dig down deep through the history of 1300 years of the both countries. Both countries trace their beginning to the same medieval kingdom called Kievan Rus. It was founded in the 800s, encompassing a variety of polities and people, including East Slavic, Baltic, and Finnic. It was ruled by Rurik dynasty. It was founded by a group of Vikings, the Varangians, who came from north to rule the local people. Kievan Rus spanned what is now Russia and Ukraine and its people. The Slavs are the ancestors of today's Russians and Ukrainians. Its capital was the city of Kiev, the same Kiev that is now the capital of Ukraine. Moscow, capital of today's Russia, was part of Kievan Rus. In the 1500s, descendants of the Kievan Rus princes in Moscow formed an empire of their own called Imperial Russia. By 1654, it included Kiev and its Ukrainian people, along with other lands and people from Europe and Asia. Some of the people in Imperial Russia saw Ukrainians as brothers to the Russians because they shared a culture dating back to medieval times. But Ukrainians said that while both groups practiced the same religion, Christian Orthodoxy, and shared same history, though Ukrainian such as food, language, art, and music was different. It was shaped by contact with different peoples and a history different from that of Russia. A revolution in February 1917 in Russia forced Russia's leader Tsar Nicholas II from the throne. Later in the year, October Revolution created a new empire called Soviet Union. Some Ukrainians did not want to join the new Soviet Empire. They tried to form their own country, but Soviets defeated their movement and created the Ukrainian SSR. In the beginning, Soviets allowed Ukrainians to keep their culture and run their local governments. But when Soviets realized the Ukrainians wanted independence, they immediately took their power away. After the collapse of USSR, Ukraine emerged as a new state. Its bilateral relations with its neighbor Russia remain high and low at different times. Relations between two countries have been hostile since the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution of Dignity, which toppled Ukraine's elected president Viktor Yanukovych and his supporters in response to his refusal to sign a trade agreement which would bring Ukraine closer to Europe, decided to remain loyal with Russia. Ukrainians protested and kicked Yanukovych out of office and elected a government that favored Europe rather than Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed that despite these protests, most Ukrainians wanted ties with Russia. He also worried that Ukraine would join Nato and could be a threat to Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin also holding Nato responsible for the crisis in Ukraine. He is also accusing USA of being treacherous, disloyal to the words and agreements. Despite repeated Russian protests, NATO is continuing its eastward expansion. Russia wants NATO out of the areas of former Soviet sphere of influence in the Eastern Europe. USA and NATO are also accusing Putin of being disrespectful to the international law. They also have fear of Putin's imperial designs.